Hello, this is video part 2 for how to green up a new platform. Look at the introduction of the previous video to know more about what I'm going to be talking in this video. Now, in the previous video we left it that we would not be looking at Windows 10 jobs and we're gonna only look at Windows 7 jobs. Now, Windows 7 on Task Cluster, I believe the majority of the jobs are running live as on every push of developers, but there were some jobs that we had to re-enable or add they were not being run by default. Okay, now you are going to have in a push intermittent jobs, and some of them are going to be clearly permanent failures. In order to determine if a job is failing intermittently, you will select the job and repeat the selected job or rerun, and then I would press on the UI over here or press the R key on your keyboard. So in this case there are some jobs that it seems I never try to see if they're intermittent or not. From looking at it, it's unclear what it will be. So I'm going to press R 4 times, then I'm gonna press the right key arrow so I can move to the next job, and the same, I'm going to run it 4 times. And the GL1 job, if I recall correctly, if a job is blue is because something failed on the machine or on the run that was determined that is likely to be infrastructure issue, so it automatically runs the next job. And now we have this second run of it, and I don't know why it turned purple. In any case, let's run a few more times to see what's going on. Over here it says not started, queued for 1,400 minutes. I don't know what happened there. So the same with the DCL job. Most likely it is a permanent issue because I see that on the up build as well as the debug build, the CL job went orange, and it's likely it's going to be related. And the same, C3 is likely to be an issue that is a real issue or an infrastructure issue. We'll see. Anyways, but if you can see, I retriggered C3 jobs, the CL jobs, and on the debug version we have them also failing. GL1, as you can see, on debug we don't have it as a failure, so this might have been an intermittent issue. The CL job as well. And then we have this ref test number 8. So we're going to try it a few times. Now DT1, if you see, I retried it earlier, and it is sometimes green, sometimes orange. From these 8 or 10 runs, we have 3 orange jobs, so this is probably a high frequency intermittent orange. High intermittent oranges is likely to be something we're gonna have to compare to Windows with the previous infrastructure. Think about it, Billboard, Windows 7 DT1 jobs. We're gonna probably have to compare them side by side to see how infrequent or how intermittent they are. Another thing, when you compare two platforms, you want to make sure that the number of chunks between them is the same. So, for instance, DevTools over here in Task Class is chunked into 8 pieces. When we compare it to Billboard, we want to make sure that there are 8 pieces as well, just to have a fair comparison. Sometimes when you have too many tests or too few chunks, the test runs are much longer, or there is some weird interactions on the way that the tests, the order on how the tests are run, which yield higher intermittency. So these are good things to know. These are possible reasons why a job might be more intermittent. or in this case maybe task cluster has 8 chunks and Buildbot has 5. However, DT1 on Buildbot is not as intermittent, but it is over here. So these are hard problems to figure out. So let's, by some chance, be able to determine something by looking at the failures. DevTooth clients, debugger, browser debug sources. The test name doesn't really give me any idea what it could be. Let's look over here at Chrome test, simple test, event utils, JS, ignore. So it's a bit hard. Let's see if opening the log will actually yield something. Now remember, in Treeherder there is this pretty log viewer view, and then there is the raw view. You see there is 2 clicks over here, log and the raw one. I like to have both. Actually I prefer the raw one. So let's see. So if we look at this test failure, the interesting thing is that just above it, it says not taking screenshot here. See the one that was previously logged. So it seems like maybe the harness just takes one screenshot when something goes wrong and stops after any more screenshot at that point, which gives us the idea that this test has failed because something earlier has gone sideways. So let's go a little. Well, we have this test unexpected failure over here. Stack trace. A coding exception was thrown and uncaught in a task. I wonder if it's talking about task cluster task or what. Full message type error. A target is null. Full stack. Simple. Wait for focus. This could be something interesting. Maybe on Windows there is some sort of message that has popped up and is stealing the focus from the browser. To be honest, I'll be honest with you. These kind of things can be hard to figure out. Started process screenshot. Loading fail for the script with source. Nothing. Buffered message. Let's see if... Yeah, well, one thing I forgot to mention is that when there are screenshots being taken, we upload them. So in this case, we have Mozilla test fail. So let's see if there's anything interesting. From looking at the screenshot, I can't figure out what could have gone wrong. Since I don't know the task cluster setup, I don't know if there is more command prompts that there should be in this machine. I see another Firefox window there. From looking at this icon, I can tell that there is more than one window open. And remember, we're looking at an intermittent job, so it might be that a previous test has not shut down the previous window. So let's see if there's anything in the past. Now, what you can do is you can file a bug for developers to look at it. Intermittent issues are pretty tough to deal with. You want to go first for permanent issues. Now I gave you a little bit of a taste for it. You might want to see if the intermittent failure is happening on the same line. It seems like it. At this point, you need to get developers, file a bug, put as much information as you can, get developers involved. But again, you might want to compare it with Buildbot first and see what's going on. At this moment, from loading the log, we also should have started here, to be honest. Look over here. when we selected the job, Treeherder tries to match the issue to a known issue. So let's open these, and you can see over here it's matching what seems to be a known intermittent issue. The only difference is it says got 0, expected 2. The bug is filed as got 6, expected 7. So 5 months ago, Wes filed the bug. Where are we these days? So it seems like it's being a little less intermittent. But anyway, sorry, I should have seen, look if it was already filed as an intermittent. So I assume this is an issue that we're seeing already in task cluster as it is. This is not a new job that we have added. Now, this is a bit more complicated than it should have been because I've come without any context on this work, so I didn't realize that DT1 is just one more of the... I forgot that this is just one job that is already running. Anyways, now that we have gone the wrong way, you can learn from it. Hopefully you don't go the wrong way for too long. Now, I know that I've dealt with XPC Shell 7 and XPC Shell 8 earlier, last week, and they were actually permanent issues. Now let's look at this permanent issue, or intermittent, and it seems like there is a bug file for these. But it says it hasn't happened for 8 months. So I assume you're learning from the greatest of all the people you could have faced today. Anyways, let's open a log. I know I filed these bugs, so I filed a bug for these. Windows XPC Shell 7 on task cluster fails with. Also another thing, when we have test failures that all they say something something return code 0, a lot of test failures that end for this test that return a code 0, it could easily putting a different bunch of test failures into the same string matching, because it's really not telling us much about the actual failure. But if we open the log and we look at it a little more, there's more information up here, right? Like it's saying it's having the process cannot access the file because it is being used by another process retrying. Interesting. Also later in the output I see these. So what I did is I filed a bug. On testing general, because it's something generic, I did not want to find who I didn't want to find out which team these should be filed under, so I put testing general. I CC'd the developers that have touched this file recently. So let's look at it. Toolkit, module, subprocess, test. So what we can do is, what I did is open DXR, look for the file, which it opens it for us. We can go to the log, and in my case I just picked the last 2 people. Perhaps I should have looked at the patches to see what kind of changes they did. For instance, from looking at this, maybe Mark is not really the expert on this file, and the same over here with this other change with Jared looking at it. And that's what kind of, this is what he said, you know, Mark, Jared, any suggestions on what this log might suggest? Mark and I have only touched these tests with minor syntax changes. Redirecting to Chris, he's been the majority maintainer of the test. So Chris says, we already have that task disabled on XP because the Python interpreter fails when we give it a partial environment. We can probably either try adding more variables to the environment until it works. So you see, this is what happens when you file a permanent test failure on a new platform. Developers can determine what to do. Now I've seen a little bit more information. I see the reason the person cannot access the file because it's so there. The reason might be earlier. You know, it's hard to determine. You might need to. At this point, I know that the developer is going to look more into it, so I don't have to think too much about it. And the same with XPC Shell 8. I opened it. I see a lot of bootstrap, SVC, MAR, success complete. Now, somebody who has been around a while would, do the same process. Go and try to find out who has touched this file. And then you just file it. But in this case, I know SVC, it recognizes as something as a service. Then I see MAR. MAR is a Mozilla archive. Something, it has to do with the updater. So what I did is I filed, again, a bug in testing general. And then I asked rstrong, because I know he's worked in the updater in the past. And he just told me, hey, this is a known issue in task cluster builds. They are signed, so the test is going to be failing. Now we can keep on pushing on these Windows 7 issues and doing more investigation, but again, file bugs, get developers to know the issues, and try to give the information that will be relevant for them to fix. And if you want them to make it a priority, talk to them and see when they could look at it. And that's about it. I don't think I do anything fancier than that. Previous knowledge is that I had is that you can use the XR or HG to find out who has touched the file, or that I recognize certain words like service and MAR as. Sorry, seems like my wife finishes task and task Wunderlist. I also noticed that I also knew previous knowledge is that I knew that rstrong has knowledge about the updater. It's a slow process, but I think I cover pretty much everything that is involved with it. If you're watching these videos, you might be trying to do this work in a new platform. Good luck with it, and yeah, don't get overwhelmed. It is doable. It's just a little bit by a little bit. With a little bit of patience, you'll get there. Good luck. Bye bye.